are we all? Yeah. Good to be out, isn't it? Amongst the living.
Nice to dress up.
Nice to dress up.
Just being in tracksuit pants or pajamas.
It is really like a time warp, isn't it?
This should have been open mic 90.
Yes, yep. Should have been.
So we're back on track.
And in actual fact, Richard, I looked up our February open mic night. It happens to be on your birthday.
Oh, indeed.
And
You won't tell, will you?
I will. I'm telling everyone.
No, excuse me.
That's you might be busy on your birthday. You might not come.
You'll never have an open mic waiting for an effort.
A what?
You'll never have an open mic on my birthday.
Oh, why?
It's on Boxing Day.
Oh.
St. Stephen, that's one.
Ah, okay. All right. We ready to go? We all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome everyone to Open Mic Night number 80. I'm Cindy Lou Who. I seriously feel like my eyes are kind of glued together. So, we have a few books, but we've been in a time walk, but a few books have been happening behind the scenes, some of which are up here. So, Richard has, well, they're not two books, but it's the same book but with different covers. One's hardcover, one's soft cover. If you're really nice to him, he might sell you one and sign it. I'm assuming you have some with you. Yes?
Well, you told me that you've got some. So
Yes, I have more.
Yeah, so I'll borrow some for you.
I just know I'm going to knock all of that down. We have Betty's book of children's stories. Have you got copies of this here tonight?
Yes.
Yes? So if you're nice to Betty, she might sell you some and sign them too. Good Christmas presents for the little... What age group would you say this is for?
It's for 3 to 5 year olds.
Yep, so perfect stocking filler. How much are you selling this for?
You told me $20.
Good.
Special price for you.
Now, for those of you who came to Bali with me, will recognise this name, Carol Howlett. That's actually Kev's mum. She came to Bali with us, but not to do the writing retreat. But I was determined for her to do a book. And here it is.
Oh, wow.
So during lockdown, because she was stuck out at Whittlesea and couldn't go anywhere, and she has a really good digital camera, so I said, why don't you take photos in your garden for a whole year? So she has this front picture, I think, is absolutely gorgeous, and it's a journal. This is the proof copy, so I don't actually have copies. But if you're thinking this is a good present for someone in the family, that's available.
How much is that one?
This is soft cover. That's 28. Hard cover's 38. I'm doing some sales here. Christmas shopping. And then because of the photos are so gorgeous, we did a wall calendar. So there's lots of great, all Aussie birds.
Oh, wow.
From her garden.
Oh, gorgeous.
And there will be a set of cards, but they're not quite ready.
How much is the calendar?
25. That's the only one I've got at the moment, though. They're coming tomorrow. Now, for those of you who read the newsletter about the dress-ups, there are prizes for best costume. These are the prizes. $50 Visa card.
Wow.
Christmas lights. Can't have Christmas without Christmas lights. What does Aldi say? You can't overcook Christmas. You can't overlight Christmas, in my opinion. Salted caramel macadamia.
Wow.
Good old traditional butter biscuits. Lots of good prizes.
Yep.
And we're going to be voting. And a bottle of Chandon. So, because not many of you dressed up, you might all get a prize. So, normal thing that we do on open mic night is I've got my list of readers. Kev will be taping it and putting it up on YouTube later in the week. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, please let us know so we can cut you out. Seth, come on up.
Hey everyone, how you going? Okay, so have I had a year and a half? I'm so far through, I think we all can relate to that in so many aspects. I'm literally halfway through my second book now called I Rose Above, A Story for the Experienced. But first I wanted to pick a couple of sentences from my original book. Maybe I can rise above a story for the misunderstood. I'll read the synopsis first, as I've done this before, but I'll read it again, just for those who haven't heard it. This is not a self-help book. This is a story about healing, self-acceptance, and overcoming adversity. It's not always pretty, and that's how it's supposed to be, so that we can grow and understand who we are and what we truly need in our lives. It's also a story about learning to understand damaged people, finding forgiveness, and rising above the prejudice of others. Okay. Ooh, that sounded very appropriate. Getting into my zen. Okay, so I'm going to go to chapter, wait for it, chapter 12, and this is called Perspective. Some people have strong opinions, and those strong opinions are generally verbalized as judgments, which ultimately affect how we see ourselves and can cause us to either change or punish ourselves. Some people will work extremely hard to prove their worth by the means of success, only to discover it made no difference in the eyes of the person who originally questioned it. They never needed to prove themselves anyway. Meanwhile, on the other hand, other people may end up settling for what they believe they deserve, only to endure some negative consequences as a result. It's a double-edged sword. Some people would go so far to suggest that you shouldn't remain a victim of your past. But let's not forget that everyone has their own learning styles, and people are more complex than we allow them credit for. If you are continually judged based on face value, it's inevitable you'll start to doubt yourself and make decisions based on a mispreconception. Power of suggestion is just that, powerful, though dangerous to an impressionable mind. Imagine what we could all achieve if our feedback was positive. Then again, some of our biggest failures end up being our biggest weaknesses, biggest wins in the end. These days, I attempt to challenge the noise inside my head. I question and challenge all those little voices of doubt. With every response they spit back, the answers become weaker and more ridiculous. Opinions are gradually losing their power over me, though it's daily work. I mean, I've constantly been deemed worthless for being poor and having no family. Meanwhile, other people are being defined as worthless for other factors, such as living at home with their parents, struggling to kick their addictions, and for being single, etc. Really, why are things like human compassion and acts of kindness less favoured, while status, appearance, and money still determine our worth? Have we learned nothing? Shouldn't the quality of a person be defined by the state of their humanity? Imagine if our society collapsed and we reverted back to the days of cavemen. How would we survive? Better yet, how would we redefine ourselves without status, appearance, and money? I suspect it would be one massive shitstorm. If I've learned anything from losing everything, it's that attaching myself to things and people in order to feel secure always fails, because things and people aren't permanent. I've also learned that changing for someone else doesn't mean they'll change their behaviour. They'll always find a fault within you because they haven't addressed the issue within themselves. Embrace your authenticity and forgive those with compassion for their weaknesses. My book is available on Amazon under Sapphire Rose Fletcher. Maybe I can rise above. Thank you so much.
And Saf, have you got copies here tonight if anyone wants one?
Yeah.
So maybe Saf will sign it, sell one to you and sign it if you'd like one. Thank you. Sorry, I'm so out of practice. I didn't even say anything about the ding. Are we actually? We are timing it. But anything goes really tonight. Roughly 5 minutes we're aiming for, and Kev will ding it around the 5-minute mark. I can't even remember when we last had open mic night. When was it? February, March? April?
March or April.
I think we got 1 or 2 this year, didn't we?
Yeah, I've lost track. All right. Roo. Yes. Flash fiction. Life has meaning. Woo, that's good.
Sorry. Hi. So, I had 1 hour to think of a piece for tonight, and because of time restraints, I decided on flash fiction. So, I had to Google ideas online, and I found 100 days of flash fiction prompts, say that in a hurry, and it was perfect. So what number would I choose from 1 to 100? Let's choose 37, the age I was when I gave birth to my son, and a very fine age indeed for a woman. I think most women would agree with that, or maybe it was just me, but anyway. Number 37 prompts was, someone's life takes on new meaning after they discover an unusual tree. Perhaps I should have gone for 36. I started wild writing. Here we go. Her legs wobble like jelly beneath her. She cannot take another step. She knows it. She's sure of it. She takes another step anyway. Focus. Don't look ahead. It's daunting. Don't look behind. It's too depressing. Look down. Walk 1 step at a time. Immediately she bumps ahead. Damn, wrong moment to look down. Crikey, where did that tree come from? Wait, is this even a tree? The branches of this thing, I suppose it's a tree, are gnarled and twisted. Not like a vine, gently curled over on itself and sprouting shiny green leaves. No, this was more like a grotesque arm from a creature in a horror movie, twisting and turning as it spreads upwards and downwards, bumping innocent heads. I stopped after that. Need research. Let me Google unusual trees with grotesque branches so I know what I'm writing about. I come across 10 of the most unique trees in the world. Aha! Sadly, none of them had grotesque branches looking like horrific monster arms. I did, however, find the dragon blood tree. Ooh. This tree, says the website, is only found in the remote island of Socotra in the Gulf of Arabia. Known as the Jewel of Arabia, the island lies 400 kilometers south of the coast of Yemen and about 250 kilometers northeast of Somalia. It gets its cool name from living within what remains of the prehistoric dragon blood forest, a forest which happens to be situated on most of the forest-like landscape of granite mountains and limestone plateau. And it looks cool too. It resembles an inverted umbrella, which is how it manages to survive in its harsh environment. Through its wide umbrella canopy, it absorbs moisture from the atmosphere and feeds it and channels it down to the roots. So fascinated, I went further down into the Google rabbit hole of this tree and came across the website of an Alaskan adventurer named Nicole, who specialized in travel to remote places like that. Give someone a travel website in COVID, and what do you have? I read 3 of Nicole's blogs, and 1 hour later decided I must simply go to Socotra. And also realized I was supposed to be writing this piece. Damn. So the writing prompt: someone's life takes on new meaning after they discover an unusual tree. Clearly I had nothing to say about life-taking meaning, so let's change that. Someone's life has just been spent researching adventure holidays instead of writing about their life-changing meaning after they discover an unusual tree. So, as Billy Ocean once sang, suddenly life has new meaning to me. There's beauty above in unusual trees and things we never take notice of, remote islands. You wake up, suddenly you're in love with a dragon blood tree.
Thanks, Rose. Kitty. Ooh. For those of you who haven't read before, you'll notice that I switched the names around. So Kitty is going to read from a couple of things, actually. From Vision to Victory, Zest for Life. Oh, that's good themes. Keep going.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? I haven't been in a crowd like this for a little while, so bear with me if I'm a bit nervous. Yeah, what a journey of the last 20 months. I've actually been through a lot of twists and turns, particularly with 6 of my really close friends, and one of them 5 weeks ago, my very dear beloved mentor passed away. 3 of cancer, 1 from COVID, 1 from brain aneurysm, and my mentor, who is the author of this book, passed away from bronchitis turned to heart failure. So in honor of him, I'd love to read part of his book, and Dennis Franks is his name, and he has written The Last Laugh. He's actually, Philadelphia Eagle, very famous NFL player in the US. And he has written this book about From Vision to Victory. And he has been teaching me, not only in business, but more so in life and health, what it means to have a vision, to have a purpose, to have meaning in your life, and turn that into victory in the face of trials and tribulations. So here it is, some of the expert of part of what he has written under the topic of vision. Nothing happens without vision. Nothing. Without vision, you will spend your life fulfilling other people's dreams. Vision breaks down into, number 1, it starts with a dream, a vision, an intention, something you want to achieve. And break that vision down into something meaningful that drives you, that gives you the reason to wake you up, and time-sensitive goals, etc., etc. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm gonna move on to other areas. He's got 2 pages of things that he talked about in vision. But then, when it comes to victory, which is the last bit of this whole what we call Victor's Code, From Vision to Victory, he says this: I have always been one who believed in celebrating the little victories of life. I felt that celebrating the small wins stoked the embrace of passion. I'm now of the faith that when you are present, now that is success. Victory is not a future achievement. One of the greatest books that Dennis likes outside the Bible is at the Bhagavad Gita. I don't even know what it is. Yeah, and he says, do not be attached to the fruits of your labor. Do not be attached to the fruits of your actions. The action you take today is not about achieving a win later. It is about winning now, in the present moment. Mindfulness reminds me. And do your best now, because now is all you have. You have no assurance of the future. You cannot regret your past. I just added that, it's not me. It is about winning now, guys. And do your best now. And that's actually an ethos that throughout the last 6.5 years that he's been my business mentor, he always says, do your best now. Now, like that's what Dennis always says, now. He's a very present, he's a very mindful, conscious being. And I still remember, he always says, stay focused, stay the course. Anyway, so that's that little bit about, victory, from vision to victory. So I've sort of connected that to my book, Juggling Health and Wealth, and if anyone wants it, it's actually on Amazon. I'm actually turning a certain age next week today. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. It's my birthday next week. And my goal is to be top 100 in the Amazon bestseller. So if you want to, in amazon.com.au under Kitty Chan, my name, Juggling Health and Wealth, if you buy one, it will help me move up to maybe closer to 100. Anyway, so that's the dream of my birthday for this year. So help me out, please.
That's an ebook, yeah?
That's an ebook, yeah. It's a digital book. It's 99 cents.
99
so yeah, 99 cents, not even $1. All right. So Zest for Life is one chapter that I wrote, which really was inspired by Dennis's victory, because he was a very, 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 very successful and wealthy businessman, yet he was the most down-to-earth and loving, caring mentor anyone can have. So as you heard about, his idea of living in the present now. Yep, okay, so Zest for Life is actually about how much of a zest of life do you have? It was actually something that he imparted to me. It is an obvious attitude you have when you love life. Attitude is a choice. You cannot change your past, but you can change your attitude now, inspired by Dennis Franks. And attitude precedes success. And so, I've got a few pages. I can't read it all within the next 1 minute, so I'll just finish off with this last couple of paragraphs. If you are negative when things don't go as planned, you will get even more pessimistic. When you're not optimistic, you can't be confident and persuasive. People who lack confidence don't believe in their ability to succeed. When your outlook is negative, you tend to focus your attention on what is wrong with your life, and you don't appreciate the beauty that is all around you. So remember, everything happens for a reason, and you can overcome setbacks and bounce back from them. You can have zest for life if you choose to. Yes, people with positive attitude do get frustrated, sad, and even depressed temporarily, but they look for the opportunity that comes from that challenge. And I've had to go through this in the last little while, where all of these close friends and my mentor passed away only exactly 5 weeks ago today. And I felt that, he has given me this zest for life as a result of me being mentored by him. And so Dennis is not on this earth anymore, but I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for what you've done in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty. It was a really nice tribute. And lots of good things for us to think about. We might have Richard Trembath read, and we might follow with Dominic doing some reading.
I gather from...
Do you want your poem?
Yeah,
Which one?
please. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, thank you. I gather from some of the questions I've been asked tonight that not very many of you go to the trots. One of the questions I've been asked most is, where did I get this costume or whatever? One of the facets of my life when I'm not writing poetry and things like that was that I bred and trained and raced harness horses for about 35 years and drove them in races, and I sort of went all over Australia, and I drove a winter in Macau at one stage and drove in England and New Zealand and all that. But anyway, this is sort of what trotting drivers wear in races, except that on hot nights they wear satin colours or silks, and on wet nights they wear this. But my satin colours were in very ordinary repair, and these aren't much better. But anyway, that's where that came from. And so far as the character from a movie, the very first movie that I saw in my life was called The Great Dan Patch, And Dan Patch was a horse who raced in America in the first decade of the 1900s. He broke the world record about 20 times. He was never beaten, and his world record, after he'd retired, his world record lasted for another 30 years. So he was quite a horse, and I would love to have driven him. I think I probably could have won on him. Anyway, that's all that. So we're, and that's my whip for sorting Blaze out if she misbehaves. So, right, well, now my new book, which was came out last week, is called If We Should Ever Meet Again. So the first poem in the book is entitled If We Should Ever Meet Again. So I'll read that for you first. Do you ever wonder what would happen if we should ever meet again? Would it be like the first time or the last? They both seem so long ago, and yet it is the first time I recall, when we were in the springtime of our lives. The days seemed longer then, the road seemed straight and true, and yet life overtook us with its twists and turns and undergrowth along the verges of the road, more dense each mile until it blocked our long shared view of life's true common goal. You went your way and I went mine, yet looking back, I don't recall the reason. What went wrong, if anything? Perhaps it was just time for both of us to scan life's landscape as it lay outstretched before us. We drifted, and our lives took different paths to different destinations. But what if, once again, our paths should cross? If we had time to pause, reflect, and to exchange the stories of our lives? Would we change anything, or simply look upon those early days with fondness, born of love, and wonder why? I haven't finished yet. Kev, have I? No, I didn't think so. Right, this one is one that I wrote probably during the COVID time. Anyway, it is called Until There's None. It's hard to realise how much there was until there's none. Conversation turned to silence, mere presence to aloneness, thoughts unshared. To wake to greet the hollow day and search for one good reason to embrace it, to become involved. Not every day, but most. To cast my mind back to the happy times when you were here. No need to speak, just simply be, enraptured by each other's presence, our existence shared. But now the all-pervading silence overwhelms me, robs me of the will to go about my daily life, to be aware of anything, nothing, save this stone that is my heart. I'll do one more which might lift the tone slightly. This is called While Love Remains. We are never apart as long as I have memories of you and you of me. We are never apart as long as we can recall the things we shared. For as long as our memories endure and we care, the bond will remain. We shall never be apart, for as long as memories shared are cherished by us both. Though land and water may separate us, they cannot separate our hearts. For the earth extends from where I am to where you are, and it is the same earth. I can touch it where I am, and you where you are, and the earth will link our touch. I can look at the moon and know that you are looking at the same moon. I can drift through time and know it is the same time I drift through with you. We shall never be apart for as long as love remains. We shall never be alone.
Now, so Dom's going to come up.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, do you want to up on the stage or?
Oh, no, this will do. Thanks. Could I just say how nice it is to see a bunch of positive folk? No, I'm a loner at heart most of my life, and I think I let COVID get to me a lot in the last little while. And I'm becoming a grumpy old man.
Good comeback.
She's cute. So yeah, nice to hear some positive folk. So good on you. I'm using this as a bit of get out of jail tonight. Anyway, to get on with it, I had the pleasure to talk to Richard what seems like a couple of lifetimes ago, just back there somewhere, last time we met. And we got talking about horses, of course. And well, for some reason I was looking at Farlap and I said to Richard, do you think he was poisoned by the Yanks? And this led into a very nice little conversation. Anyway, Richard told me he's written a poem about Farlap. And then I ended up buying one of his books with the poem in it, yeah. And then he went on to say that it was made into a song. I thought that's pretty good. Then he went on to say it made the hit parade. I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. So, well done. Anyway, he did give me carte blanche a little bit to play with the poem. So I put a tune to it, which I thought to myself, oh, next week I'll see what he thinks. 2 lifetimes later, here I am. Anyway, so the song is called Farlap, written by Richard Trimble. Through the mist of early morning they come striding round the track. Nostrils flared, flanks are foaming, chestnut brown and black. One among them stands out, a mighty chestnut horse. His name became a household word, changed the history's course. Farlap means lightning, you won the Melbourne Cup. Way back in 1930 with jockey Jim Pickup. Farlap means lightning, stamina and speed. Australia salutes you, the finest of the breed. There were many there before you, there's been many since your day. Archer, Carbine, of Delta and O'Ray. But there's never been one finer, not one that could keep up. That day at Flemington, the day you won the cup. The click of champagne glasses, the horses thunder past. Jockeys in their silks, it's cup day again at last. We hear the cup crowd roaring, we join in the cheers, as memories of Farlap come striding down the years. Farlap means lightning, you won the Melbourne Cup. Way back in 1930 with jockey Jim Pickup. Farlap means lightning, stamina and speed. Australia salutes you, the finest of the breed. The years have dimmed your memories, there's new stars on the track. Each time one emerges, old horsemen look back. They say he's no Farlap, he won't last very long. As long as men remember, your name will live on.
followed you on the Melbourne Cup. There's never been one like you with Jockey Jim Piker. We'll drink a toast together, we'll join in one and all to follow the Red Terror, the bravest of them all. Follow means lightning, you won the Melbourne Cup way back in 1930 with Jockey Jim Piker. Follow means lightning, stamina and speed. Australia salute to the finest of the breed.
I knew all the words to that.
That's good.
I know it by heart as well.
Thank you for that. That was good.
Thank you.
Michelle. But
Guess who I'm channeling? That's not the Queen.
Elvis.
Jane Austen.
Elvis.
No, Elvis, yeah. I have got a picture of me with Elvis in Glasgow. Believe it or not. As you do. That was in the Glasgow Museum. How are we all? Great to be back. Woo! Yay! Yay! No, my favourite author is Jane Austen. I had the pleasure to go and visit her museum in Bath in 2019, when it was way back when we could travel. And I took cardboard Paul with me, and we had lovely photos with Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet and everything else. So, and I think that before our last open mic was just before my book launch, which I launched it in between. Yes, so Death, Dying and Beyond.
So can you remember when that was? Because I can't remember.
It was April the 17th, I think, something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Must have been April.
yeah. I was lucky to get that date. But so some of this book is about preparing for death, which is very important. We need to start talking about it. It's such a taboo subject, so that is my passion. And it's got some great little sort of tick and flick forms there that you can sort of, if you don't want to talk about it, you can download them from the Michelle Burke website. And some of it was channeled, I think I read some of this the last time I was here. And Paul, my late husband, was able to give me some information from the other side. So he was my ghost writer. So this is the next one, which is fiction. My last three books are about real life, and this is actually fiction, which I've had a bit of fun with. And when I did the writing retreat, which was in between lockdowns or restrictions, I don't like saying those words, but anyway, I started before this, and then I tweaked it when I was there. So this is the next one. It's fiction, and the working title is Everything and Nothing. It could be changed, who knows. He stroked her forehead and whispered softly, "Don't leave me," as tears gently rolled down his face, placing a soft kiss on their cheek. Silence fell upon the room, and they were gone. Tiffany stood beside the bed, just watching her husband Michael, his shoulders hunched over, his body shuddering. She looked over onto the bed, again seeing the lifeless body. It had been a long, difficult battle that was now over. Stillness separated them as they both just stood, staring into space. Exhaustion etched on his face as he realised that it was finally over. Heavily silence descended upon the room as Michael sat with his face in his hands, when suddenly he heard footsteps down the corridor, slowly stop and then cracking of the door as it opened. Michael looked up to see the doctor and nurse entering the room and walk over to the bed. He watched the doctor gently pick up the hand and check the pulse, pull out his stethoscope to hear for a heartbeat. Nothing. Michael turned away. Watching his loved one just lying there made him tremble as he tried to keep his emotions together. He couldn't lose it now, not here. The doctor looked over to the nurse, who looked back at him with a soft look on her face and handed him a piece of paper. The doctor looked up at the clock. It was 1:42 p.m. and wrote the time on the paper and signed the document before handing it over to the nurse. The medical certificate to document the death would be sent to the administration team to process. The nurse checked the form, nodded to the doctor, and they both silently walked out of the room, leaving Tiffany and Michael alone. It felt so cold and clinical. Tiffany stood beside Michael trying to comfort him, but couldn't, although she did notice him shiver. Michael felt the room suddenly become cold, and for a split second he felt a strange chill run down his body. The hairs stood up on his arm, but thought nothing of it. Shock, maybe. Michael walked slowly out of the room, not really wanting to leave, but knew that he couldn't stay there either, as he had to go home and make phone calls, contacting their children, friends and family. He also had to call into the neighbours to collect their dog Buster. Tiffany followed Michael out of the hospital and, slipping into the passenger seat, they drove home silently, lost in their own thoughts, nothing more to say. Buster greeted Michael with a wagging tail and a huge smile on his face, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, adopted a few years ago and kept them both company. Buster was very close to Tiffany, not leaving her side. They had a special connection. Buster looked at Tiffany and gave her a funny look and wagged his tail even more vigorously, happy to see them both. Buster sat in the middle of the back seat, happy to be heading home again, just staring out the window, mesmerised by the passing cars and pedestrians. Michael opened up his front door and went through the house with Tiffany trailing behind him. He opened the fridge door and pulled out the bottle of wine and that had been sitting there for weeks. He grabbed 2 glasses out of the cupboard and poured a crisp white wine into each and just stared at the white liquid, lost in his thoughts. He was dreading making those phone calls that would change all their lives. He wandered into the lounge room with his glass. Sitting on the couch, he picked up the phone and started to dial. Their 2 sons, Jake and Simon, were living from home, with Jake studying at law in university in Sydney, and Simon married to Jenny, also living in Sydney, practising accountancy. When Tiffany and Michael moved to Brisbane all those years ago, he wasn't expecting to feel this way, being a world away from their children, and wished they lived closer, especially now. Michael first called Jake to tell him the news, and after a quick conversation told him he would phone him in the next few days with an update once the funeral arrangements were organised. He then contacted Simon, telling him the same news. Both sons were distraught and offered love and support to their father, telling him to contact them if he needed anything. Their daughter Miranda, the youngest of the trio, was travelling around Europe on her gap year prior to holding off to university to study medicine. Thank you. The thought of not being beside her family during these past few months was devastating, although this last episode of the cancer journey came out of the blue and was sudden. The last phone call to her parents was not good news, although she was assured that everything would be fine and not to rush back and cut her travelling short. That's it. The story's got plenty of twists and turns in it.
So Michelle has 3 books already published, if you'd like to buy any. They're all over there. Steve, the Gata, is going to read from his novel, Hope Dreams, from chapter 3.
Oh, well, my name is Dent, Arthur Dent, in case you can get the reference. If you did, you are a true soulmate. It's probably in chapter 2, because the first chapter is like a prelude. And the big news is that after being in my head for 15 years and being in print for 10 years, I've finally got the book to a stage where I think it's ready to print. So this is not the book, this is a mock-up of a cover. But if I sell my house, I'll also have the means to do it. Not that you need to sell a house to publish a book, it's just that I've been through a bit of financial difficulties over the last few years, and selling my house will get me on a firm financial footing. So, to give you a background, the book is called Pope Dreams because the premise of the story is the Pope dies and he has a fairly undignified death. Actually, he's releasing doves from his balcony during his Angelus, and the doves are a bit recalcitrant, and he's stretching over out of the window to try and get the doves to move on. He actually falls headfirst onto the terrace below, revealing his Juventus boxer shorts. But what happens after that is that on the night of the funeral for the Pope, all the cardinals have a dream, and in their dreams they see the new Pope. The only problem is the man they see in their dreams is not a cardinal. He's actually a married father of 6 living in Dublin who is involved in the church in a way, directly, but is about to have a vasectomy. And, and that is the premise of the story. So I use the dreams in the book as a way of humanising the cardinals, because they're often cardinals and bishops often seen as demigods in a way, that they're above all of us, but really they're just ordinary blokes. So in their dreams they're playing golf, they're racing cars, they're performing on stage and things like that. So in this chapter it's titled Farewell to the Good Pope, and it really sets the scene for the machinations of the politics behind the election of the Pope. Okay. In the week following the unfortunate demise of Anthony, Pope Anthony, the manner of his death had been transformed from what was essentially a clumsy accident to a virtual ascension to heaven. The official Vatican line was that although his mortal body had fallen to the ground, if one looked closely at the footage, his soul could be seen to be carried up to heaven with the doves he had encouraged to flight. Fears that the Pope's massive head trauma would have prevented him from being laid in state proved to be unfounded. The undertakers had excelled themselves to the point that, with the help of the papal mitre, Anthony's appearance was almost unchanged. The papal funeral itself was another great media success for the Vatican, with record television ratings worldwide. Despite the increasing irrelevance of the Catholic Church in modern society, people were fascinated by the pomp and ceremony surrounding the papacy. The event was attended by heads of states from many nations. Those who could not come themselves sent their delegates, and religious leaders from all Christian denominations attended, along with representatives of many of other faiths. But for the cardinals charged with presiding over the ritual and solemnity of the papal funeral, the decision of who would be next to fill the shoes of St. Peter was at the top of their minds. It was just over 9 years ago that they had gathered in the Sistine Chapel to elect Cardinal Federico Bontempi to the highest office of the Church. Bontempi was not considered by any papal observers to be a favourite for the job, despite arguably having the best theological credentials. Over more than 2 decades, his predecessors had worked to restore the traditional Catholic values by winding back some of the hard-won reforms achieved via the Second Vatican Council. In the process, the College of Cardinals had become increasingly conservative. A progressive Jesuit theologian like Bontempi was considered a rank outsider. However, the hand of the cardinals was forced by the ever-deepening scandals of the clergy involvement in child sexual abuse and the clear evidence that church leaders had been protecting alleged offenders from investigation and prosecution. It was apparent to the cardinals that most, if not all, of the favoured conservative candidates were tainted in some way by these scandals and cover-ups. It was also suspected that insinuations that Pope Anthony's predecessor had reassigned several priests, later convicted of child sexual abuse, led to the stroke that ultimately claimed his life. Therefore, They were limited to choosing from candidates who were not tainted by such scandals. Bontempi was one such candidate, and his theological credentials could no longer be ignored. So Federico Bontempi was duly elected and became Pope Anthony first of his name. Pope Anthony immediately set about trying to ensure that the victims of abuse were given proper justice. However, he came across substantial resistance from cardinals and bishops trying to protect their own reputations. Nevertheless, in the 9 years in office, he had managed to restore a lot of the respect and credibility in the church that had been lost by his predecessors. Many conservative Catholics were grateful for this fact, but now that the church was back on track and Pope Anthony was out of the way, the process of returning the church to traditional values could recommence.
Sarah. Oh, are you doing a meditation with us?
The jury's out on that. I'll ask the group. Hi there. I just wanted to say that I haven't dressed up as a character, but more an example of creative writing. Okay? So, and I've come along to talk about a product which has got a very similar name to one of your books here, called Mindful Moments, that I developed about 7 or 8 years ago. My son had anxiety and depression, and I was trying to find a way to help him out. And in the process, I developed a deck of cards, and I started teaching mindfulness in schools. And then these became very popular, and they're now stocked in many bookshops. Readings have them. So they're all over the country. They're being sold, and I'm hoping to get them into America. So I just thought I'd introduce you to them. I'll just read the story about Mindful Moments, and I might read you. Basically, it's a deck of 50 cards. They're all different colours, mean different types of meditations. They're all 3 to 5 minutes long, and you just read them. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. So it's just the instructions tell anyone how to be a meditation teacher. It's a very simple technique. They're very good for you guys if you have a creative block. Doing something like this, a little 5-minute meditation to clear your mind and reboot, is a great thing to do. They were used in schools. Kids would take them home and do them with their families. Psychologists buy them for couples. Families use them. Counsellors use them. They're multi-purpose. Anyway, so the story of Mindful Moments is when my mother passed away in 2008, I hit a low patch. I was introduced to focusing. It's a form of mindfulness as a technique to steady and manage my emotions at the time. The whole experience felt vague at first, but my teacher insisted that it would help. Desperate for relief from my sadness, I persevered and now am eternally grateful I did. 3 years later, I lost another 3 close family members. This time, I was able to use mindfulness to manage my emotional well-being and to help me navigate this trauma. My mindfulness practice helped me then and now in my day-to-day life to regulate my emotions, enjoy the moment, which is what Kitty was talking about now, and appreciate life more fully. If only I had learned this as a child, how different would life have been? Initially, I developed these cards as a mindfulness teaching tool for schools. I then adapted them for anyone to use as a quick way to feel better in body and mind. Now, I'm aware that I don't have long, so I could read a card, but it might go for 4 minutes, which means a bit out of time. Or I can just read you one of my Desert Pea cards, which are the green ones. These were inspired by the indigenous mindfulness practice that's over 40,000 years old, known as Dardidi, which means inner deep listening and quiet still awareness. These green cards are outdoor meditation, so I'll just read you and you can imagine what it's like. I also did these in consultation with Indigenous elders, so they're the real deal. See if you can find a quiet, peaceful spot outside and sit on a chair, a log, a rock, or the earth beneath you. Sit for at least 5 minutes. Look and listen to the earth and the environment that surrounds you. Just sit, look, and listen. So that's an example of one of the cards. The other ones are quite different, but they're like breathing meditations, body scan meditations, activities, and so on. And in readings they cost $29.95, but I've got some with me and I'm happy to sell them for $20 to creative folk. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Holly.
They're not connected, but Blaise did point out that my costume as a Camino pilgrim was quite appropriate for the piece of writing. Fortuitous, I think. Trudging around historical sites is rarely a child's idea of a great holiday. But as I get older, I find myself looking back to family trips, to castles and churches, museums and memorials, and wish I had paid more attention. Many tourist guides will now include such places of architectural or historical interest, and with good reason, as ruins, castles, palaces and temples remain popular on many tourist itineraries, from the wonders of Machu Picchu in Peru, to Egyptian pyramids, to the ruins of the Parthenon. Clearly, we have a deep-seated wonder and fascination with places not necessarily our own. In many countries, there's even enough interest beyond the school groups and the history buffs and those filled with nostalgia to fund their upkeep. But this is a modern phenomenon. Until only recently, disused buildings were not treasured, but plundered for their stones. Many Roman ruins in Britain were used as a handy and local source of ready-cut stone. And yet now we visit and admire. Why? Within my own culture, and perhaps yours, to visit an old castle in England can be understandable in the context of ancestry. In a Christian culture, visiting a Christian church is surely similar. But the religious aspect is of no consequence to many others who seek to visit these places. And what of trips to Hindu temples in India, or Shinto shrines, or the ruins of ancient Greek temples? Is visiting a temple of another religion, or remnants of another civilization, a way to experience the exotic and the unknown? Some of our fascination is undeniably for the architecture, for it's hard not to marvel at the skill of the builders, the stonemasons and the carpenters who designed and constructed such buildings before the advantage of modern machinery. Few can deny the magnificence of Angkor Wat and the surrounding temples in Cambodia. That the ruins were only rediscovered by Europeans in 1860 surely only adds to their mystique. The mountaintop placement of Machu Picchu is certainly a drawcard as well, the journey to the site and the views around adding to their glory. Here the mystery is enhanced, as the Incas no longer exist as a distinct civilization. In contrast, the Khmer people of Cambodia can and do recognise their own ancestors in the stones at Angkor Wat. The continuing religion, the ruins, and images at Angkor Wat of Apsara dancing have helped the Cambodians to reconnect with their own culture after Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge tried so hard to destroy it in the 1970s. In visiting ruins, perhaps many of us are in fact seeking connection. Connection with people of our own faith over the centuries, or with people of other countries or cultures who built places of shelter, worship and wonder. We do not need Roman blood to marvel at the artwork and the beauty remaining at the ruins in Pompeii. Without a Catholic background, we can still stand in awe beneath the vaulted ceilings of a medieval cathedral and sense the strength and the importance of that faith for the builders. Before our era, did people take the stones for their own use because they already had sufficient connection in their society? Or were they simply using convenient stones and history held a lesser value? As I've got older, I've chosen to visit many ruins, temples, castles and churches myself. I marvel at the art and the skill in the architecture. I enjoy exploring why the history of why a huge church or a monstrous castle now sits abandoned in a once wealthy and important, but now small and insignificant rural village. I remain in awe of the scale of faith, vision and foresight of my ancestors and their counterparts around the world. 2 years ago, on what was to be the last time I saw my dad, he asked that we visit Ely Cathedral in England, one of his favourite buildings. The moment I walked in, I could understand why. With its soaring, elegant ceiling and light-filled space, it is a building of perfect proportions, portraying undeniable skill in the design and construction. He had introduced me to marvels before, but standing together in Ely on that occasion, I was old enough to pay attention.
Did anyone not put their name down? Just before we've got a couple more left. Betty and Paul and Jimmy. Are you going to do some music? Jimmy?
Don't speak English.
Okay. Betty, we might go with you next.
Thank you. As you get older, Holly, you turn into a ruin yourself. Anyway, this is just a little thought. I don't like to write about lockdown, but this is just something that tickled my fancy. And it's called Who's the Boss? Ring, ring. Hello, Betty speaking. Hi, this is Marie from the car service centre. Just reminding you that your car is due for a service. Oh yes, I've had a text and an email from you, but I'm not able to bring the car in just now. The chirpy voice continues. The service is 2 months overdue. Can I make an appointment for you one morning this week? I haven't driven much since the last service and I thought I'd wait a while, thanks. Yes, I can see you've only clocked 874 kilometres, she says. That's right. I've had knee surgery and won't be driving for a few weeks yet. Hang on. What was that she said? How do you know I haven't been driving my car? Your car's onboard computer sends regular information updates and recently reported that the oil level is low and it needs a top-up. But it's been parked in the garage for 4 weeks, I tell her. Then I remember that hubby took it for a drive last Monday just to give it a run. I shall have all clear next week, so I'll bring the car in then, I tell her. Formalities concluded, I replace the handset, pick up my trusty crutches and thump my way through the house out to the garage. It's cloudy and overcast outside and feeble daylight hazes in from the one frosted glass window in the garage. The dark blue car sits innocently in the left-hand parking space and I turn on every fluorescent light so the place lights up like it's Christmas. I take up a position directly in front of the vehicle, lean on my crutches. The headlights are blank, empty, but I know the car is aware of my presence. I stand silent for 3 long minutes. And I remember, when I was in the process of choosing a new car, the The salesman pointed out that the onboard computer and sophisticated GPS system were security features. There's a red emergency button. In case of serious accident, the car is able to send for help, even if the driver is unconscious. The car can send GPS coordinates to the authorities, then direct emergency personnel to your exact position, he proudly explained. Sounded pretty good to me. He neglected to mention that the car sends regular reports of your driving history and that the European manufacturers know where you live and they are aware of your whereabouts at all times. I stand up straight and look at the car. The headlights stare straight ahead. Finally, I say, "We need to talk." I know you haven't been out much lately, but I told you I'd been on crutches for weeks. You'd have to stay in the garage until I was healed. Don't I make the monthly payments on time? Don't I fill your tank with the best quality fuel? Don't I have you washed and polished each month? And how do you repay me? You go whining to the service centre that you need your oil topped up. That's gratitude for you. Not a glimmer from the headlights. The car sits in stubborn silence. I'm going to turn the lights off now and pull down the blind. You can sit here in the dark and think about what I've just said. I'll come back later and, if you behave, I'll get my husband to take you out for a spin. I move towards the door, pause, then turn back. One more thing. Dobbing is un-Australian. 1 week later, with his oil sitting at optimum levels, Bluey and I make our peace. Time passes. Then the pandemic arrives. Lockdown and curfew mean personal movement is severely restricted. Every 4 days, I drive the 2 kilometres to my local IGA supermarket for supplies. Otherwise, I'm always at home. I arrived home last week, turn off the car, and am about to get out to unpack my groceries. A message appears on my computer display. Battery functioned critically low. Electronics operations unable to be sustained. Start engine immediately and drive the car for an extended time. Otherwise, drive the vehicle to the nearest dealer for battery replacement. I settle back into the driver's seat and wait. Wait. Finally, one more word appears on the screen. Please. Thank you.
It's a little bit creepy. I don't know if I'd like having that car in the garage. Paul, come on down.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Haven't done this for a while. Look, I won the Wyndham Writing Awards for poetry prize this week. So I figure I reckon I've read this one here like a couple of years ago, but you'll just have to live with it. All right. And it's funny, you know, like, because I've given up writing poetry, and like for a few months, I keep getting ideas, and I'm like, nope. And then I win the award for this whole one. So anyway.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know.
You're not giving up.
It's a song.
Yeah, you're not giving up poetry.
Not that easily. Is this high enough? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Common burn. ADHD is an absence held so close that you wouldn't recognise yourself or the world if it was gone. Sometimes it's a wrestle, but usually an embrace. For example, I'm driving the Emerald Monbulk Road. It's a warm summer's night. Common burn by Mazzy Star. The vibraphone chimes shimmer through the car. And I stray the way clouds do, across the road looking up at the sky, a bowl of water. And I feel the world experiencing itself through me. I'm present to little things, It's hard to be close to me sometimes. I had a friend, and he was telling me about something to do with breaking up with his girlfriend. It was hard to see her. She worked in the deli and he was in produce, I think. But a sparrow lands on the table behind him and begins picking at the scrambled eggs. She wasn't replying to his text messages, and the sparrow is so close. I noticed the subtle layers and the shades of brown upon his wings. And he was despairing, but then she hadn't returned the engagement ring, so, you know. Wherever I am now, I'm somewhere else. The train doors shut, and I watch my backpack glide by on the seat. Headmaster throws a duster at my head, and the kids laugh at me. I can't say where I'm going, but when I'm driving through the forest like this, I find I'm not too worried about the trees. Thank you.
Only one. Come on.
I've got a little bit more. All right, okay.
How much time we got there? Yeah.
All right.
Let's do one more.
All right. Hang on. I had a very good poet come up to me one time and said, "Do less, man. You gotta leave them wanting more, not less." That's what he said, and I'm like, and I've never forgot that.
Well, you haven't got the balance right.
All right, hang on. I know there's something here somewhere. I wrote it. I swear I did. No. All right. Well, I like the end of this one. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
All right. If you've never really done art, it might not make quite as much sense, but doing the work. There comes a time when you have to be doing the work, and by definition, it's awkward. The chair's not high enough, there's clutter on the desk, and there's always that doubt. Shouldn't you be setting up fine installments? They're overdue. Just like ringing your friends, getting some exercise, cooking those lentils. You have a yearning to dig your toes into some earth and lay in the sunshine. But it comes to you, a light bulb in a dingy study, and you get dirty. You smear the page with your mess, looping and careless, a continuous line drawn from your innards, your heart taking no prisoners. That's that one. I've got a really short one. I don't know how much time I got. Have I got 30 seconds or something? This is the last one I wrote before I decided that's it. And I haven't written one since, I swear, and it's like killing your babies. It's like they come into my head and I'm just like, nah, not gonna happen. All right, unavailable. It's hard to get hold of me. People leave long messages. I never listen to them. I don't answer the phone either. My reception is poor, I say. I'd like to ring them back. I wrestle with myself. Priorities are an abstraction. I see the paddock's sheen. I smell the burnt crumpets. People aren't that real to me. I talk about myself too much. I'm afraid to really listen. Maybe I've spent too much time alone, huh? It's like I'm looking at a tadpole and the phone freaks out. And it's always some service. Sandra from Town Medical, that Indian girl from NDIS, or a surveyor from Quantum. Who are these people? I don't want to be let go. I'm afraid of drifting away. I know it's hard to reach me, but if you do manage to, could you please hold the line? Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Jimmy Fong.
And I like the airy costume. Very airy. Hello everyone. Really Blaze can, from coming here a few years, and then having been here for a couple of years, obvious reasons. We all know what is going to hold in store for us from here on. I really don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But as we all said tonight, we've got only now, and we've got the future to look forward to. When it all started, I said to my daughter, I said, God just pressed the reset button. And 2 years later, we started with me, I suppose, with my turban coming down. I'm gonna sing you a song, little tune that I wrote. It goes like this. Hello, hello, my dear friends here at Busy Bird. Hang on. Hello, my dear friends here at Busy Bird. We've been through one of our toughest years, and I pray we've learned from all our lockdowns that life is meant for cheers, not tears. Well, stay strong, but stay kind. In your mind, and stay clear, my friends, please don't fear. The sun's gonna shine for you and me from here. Our world is changing fast, my friends, please don't fear. The sun's gonna shine for you and me from here. Stay strong, stay kind, stay safe with love in your mind. Stay clear, my friends, please don't fear. The sun's gonna shine for you and me from here. The sun's gonna shine for you and me from here. Thank
Thank you. Now, Shell, what are you going to read?
It's too long.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can develop it more for next year. Yeah, okay. Did I miss any? Did anyone else want to read that hasn't? Michelle, yeah. Oh, Holly. Holly's hiding. And Holly up here. Michelle? No, I was looking for Holly. I was like, come up here. We're going to vote on costumes. Come on, Jimmy. Up on the stage.
And Blaze, obviously.
No. I'm not going to give myself a prize.
Up on stage,
On stage.
I think you can hide them. What's going on? We have a bright big show.
All right, up on stage. Up.
We're going.
All right.
So this way.
So we have, well, we actually have five, I think we have 5 prizes.
Oh, what's that?
Perfect.
Nobody loses.
To me. 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 prizes,
I have
but
to introduce you.
but Yes.
Yeah, you have to say
So,
what you are.
going from left to right, my left to right, I want you to say your name and who you are in case people don't know. And then we're going to vote for the winner. Then the winner can choose the prize and then we'll go down from that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start, Holly.
I'm Holly. I'm dressed as a traditional pilgrim on the Santiago de Compostela in Spain.
I'm Michelle and channeling Lizzie Bennett from Pride and Prejudice.
I'm Steve and I'm being Dent, Arthur Dent from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And I'm Jackie Chan, picked up the wrong costume from the Sahara Desert. Book's coming up.
And I'm Richard Trembath, driving Dan Patch to a world record in 1902.
How are we going to do the voting? Loudest applause?
Yeah, loudest applause as you go around.
Oh, that's a bit harsh,
Then someone's going to judge the
Will threats do any good?
People might like that. All right. Okay, I'm just going to say each person's name and the loudest, well, I don't know if we'll be able to measure the loudest applause, but okay, Holly. Michelle. Stephen.
Tickled that hooch so
Jimmy.
far.
And Richard. I think Richard was the loudest.
Yeah, go.
So Richard, you can choose from a bottle of Bubbly's, Chandon,
Oh, wow.
that,
Yes.
a $50 Visa voucher, so it's like cash basically, biscuits, Christmas lights, or salted caramel, what are they, macadamias.
At Christmas you got to go for the money.
The money. Then I think Jimmy was next.
Yeah.
Good on you, mate.
Look, just
choose, Jimmy.
yeah, I choose. Just
Do you like Bob?
hold it out, and I'll pick anything.
Okay. All right, I'm going to put that there and you can pick something.
Okay.
Don't knock him over.
Don't extend it.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
I think the next three can just choose. You can
Just go on,
die.
Joe.
Yeah.
Die.
Well, I've got enough Christmas lights.
I'll take the Christmas lights.
I picked the one I like too.
You take those.
Salted caramel. No, caramel.
Don't fall off the stage. Yeah, don't fall off the stage, please.
Thank you, Blaze.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for dressing up. Okay, so you can do your Christmas shopping here between all of the authors here who have books and the meditation cards, and there's even more books up there. So even if you don't want to buy books tonight and you're thinking, getting close to Christmas and thinking, oh, I've forgotten Auntie Jean or somebody, you know where to come. Has anyone got any upcoming events or announcements they want to share from now to Christmas? No, we don't even have anything, do we, Cam?
I do.
Yes?
Should I just sit here and announce it?
Yeah.
I have a gig. I've got a band together again. It's my first time performing live in 2.5 years. Since COVID.
Cool.
I have a gig at the Lyrebird. Wait for it. It's on the 11th of December.
Yep.
A day before my mother's birthday at 1 p.m. at Lyrebird Bar.
Where's that?
Glen Ira.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's at 1 p.m. and it'll be 2 increments of 45 sets of my original material.
Awesome. Maybe you can send me details and I can put it up on our page. Yeah.
Wonderful.
You've got some other news. Are you going to share that or you don't want to share that? About Jaden?
The plot thickens in my second book. That's all we need to say.
All right, we'll hear more about that. All right, thank you everyone so much for coming. It's very strange to be out in public, isn't it? So this is a really good, getting the feelers out for being out in crowds again. We have a 80th open mic birthday cake. So we'll have that now. You can have more wine, you can have a cup of tea or coffee, more food, and no hurry to go home, hang out, and thank you for coming. Have a great Christmas. Have I forgotten anything, Ted? Thanks everyone.